umaga, Secretary Lorenzana. It's a pleasure to have you with us again, although hindi na in person, no? But it's good na may technology po tayo. Salamat sa Zoom. Now we can have this conversation together. Medyo comprehensive sana ang pag-usapan natin as usual. So we're gonna get some parts as highlights and then the other parts which will be the entirety of our interview po, published separately, no, with our GMA news platform, no. So thank you very much for joining us again, Secretary.
Good morning, Richard. Good to see you again. Kahit na virtual lang.
Hopefully, God willing, once my immunity na tayo lahat, we can.
I can't even remember when we last saw each other face to face.
Oo nga po eh. Actually, twice we had interviews.
Tagal na. That was maybe 2 years ago pa. Okay, go ahead. Let's start.
Parang bumabata naman tayo, Secretary. We're getting a little bit of rest to siguro. Secretary, first of all, of course, medyo special year ito, no? We are at the 70th of yung anniversary ng Mutual Defense Treaty natin with America, and I think 75th year, no, nung establishment of formal bilateral relationship with the United States since getting our independence, no, towards the end of the Second World War. Sa tingin niyo po, saan po yung ating relationship with the United States? Mahalaga ito dahil alam ko po, kayong isa sa mga major figures pushing for a really thorough assessment ng ano ba talaga tong MDT, tumutulong ba ito sa ating national interest, is it still relevant in the 21st century? And if it is relevant or it should be relevant, how can we make it more relevant?
Yeah, thank you, Richard, for that question. And that's a very good question, actually. It's been in my mind for several years now. In fact, I was the one who first broached the idea of revisiting the MDT. Now, going to your question about how is our relationship with the US, I believe that the relationship is as robust as ever, if not more robust than at the start of the president's term. Now, during our meeting with Secretary Austin last week, I also touched on the MDT. I said that, Mr. Secretary, sabi ko sa kanya, if when the bases were removed, I think the big part of that MDT has been removed also, and we should have revisited the MDT because it was a Cold War era treaty, and it's no longer to me the situation then is not the same as now. So nagbago na, and we had to revisit it. And so okay naman sa kanya to look into it. I think they are really amenable to looking into that, to the agreement, and hopefully we can come up with not actually revising the agreement sa tingin ko, but come up with some technical arrangements or side agreement to support the MDT, incorporating some of the relevant things that's happening here in the region and also in the world.
Secretary, are we looking at certain revised guidelines? For instance, naalala ko nung 2001, well, bata pa ako nun, but naalala ko, we had some revision in the guidelines of the MDT para maging mas relevant ito dun sa, in the context of non-traditional security threats like terrorism, no? Are we looking at also making certain revisions in the guidelines, implementation rules ng MDT to make it more relevant to new threats, other sorts of asymmetric or state-based threats na face natin more recently?
Kasama yan, Richard. I think we should include this non-traditional one, climate change, itong mga pandemic na to, because the pandemic is also a big national security concern. So kasama na yan. And I believe that the other side are also looking into this. They also realize the importance of just revisiting, finding out how we can improve the MDT to serve both interests of both countries.
So, Secretary, are we looking at more human security aspect also, in a sense na comprehensive ang pag-intindi natin dito sa security cooperation natin? May climate change, may pandemic, everything that is relevant to the well-being of the Filipino people and how that alliance can help. Is this what we're looking at right now? And of course, cyber security, things like that.
Yeah, kasama na lahat, Richard. I think we will convene the committee in September. I'm going to Washington D.C. to speak before before a CSIS about the 70th anniversary, in connection with the 70th anniversary of the MDT. and hopefully Secretary Austin will be speaking there, and we will be explaining to the public, both to the Filipinos and to the Americans, what should be done moving forward. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Secretary, for that. Well, speaking of making sure that the alliance is relevant for us, no, in a multidimensional sense. Obviously, pandemic, ang laking problema yan, no. And earlier this year, ang laki ng criticism sa Amerika, mga Western countries, for so-called vaccine hoarding or vaccine apartheid, na sila, they gobbled up the bulk of the supply of vaccines, especially high-quality vaccines. Meantime, countries like China and like Russia, they have been engaging in their own vaccine diplomacy. Tulong sila sa Southeast Asia, for instance, dito sa Pilipinas. Of course, China has also helped the Philippines in terms of closing the vaccine diplomacy gap. Pero recently po nakita ko na nagre-release ng data ang White House, no, whereby they showed Philippines is actually one of the largest recipients of American vaccines. No, I think 6 million plus. I think the only country that has more than us is Indonesia. So probably that says a lot about napakamahalagang Southeast Asia siguro talaga sa US ngayon, no. While other large countries like Brazil, no, hindi gano'n kalaki yung bigay sa kanila. Ano pong take dito sa America's recent uptick in terms of vaccine donations, and do you think that us, by taking an assertive stance in terms of our relationship with the US, parang na-encourage pa sila to take us more seriously and to help us more in terms of dealing with the pandemic?
Yeah, that will be the impression of other people. Even the president believe that binibigyan tayo ng vaccine because of some issues between the two countries, especially the FA. There must be some truth to that. But I think that the Americans, marami na silang surplus ngayon. They have already vaccinated most of the people, so they can afford to be generous to the world. But for a while, nakakainis nga na hino-hoard nila yung vaccine at the expense naman of the poor countries. But hopefully, their generosity will continue through the COVAX at bibigyan nila yung mahihirap na countries. Not only the Philippines, but some of the poor countries that cannot afford to buy this vaccine. So, yun, the president has said that yes, I retracted the letter because of the vaccines that the United States is giving us. So,
you were surprised, Secretary, with the decision of the president to restore?
Not really.
Not really, right?
You know why? Because he suspended the effectivity of determination twice.
Yes,
twice.
Already.
And we are facing an election in 10 months' time, and ako, playing at the back of my mind, sabi ko mukhang hindi naman seryoso sa presidente na terminate yung MBFA, because otherwise he should have let the 180 days lapse and wala na, tapos na, di ba? But he kept postponing it. So ngayon na malapit na yung election, I think the president don't want the next president to be burdened by this issue. So sabi niya siguro, bahala na siya kung anong gagawin niya. And at the same time, sinabayan din ng donation ng US. So gumanda na yung natin, ang relationship natin. Ang kanyang disposition towards the Americans. And sabi niya, sige na, i-retract ko na lang yung termination letter.
Secretary Lorenzana, the reason I asked that is because alam ko bago dumating si Secretary Austin dito sa Pilipinas, you were already discussing a potential side agreement to the visiting forces agreement. Is that moot in court now? Is it moot in academic? Sorry, moot in academic now? Or?
It's still in effect. In fact, the Visiting Forces Agreement Commission drafted ang tawag dyan, it's a technical arrangement. Technical arrangement to implement some of the provisions, clarify some of the vague provisions of the PFA. And it was put on hold dahil nga nandiyan may termination letter kung ma-terminate talaga, muto na academic na yun kung wala na yung BFA. But now that is back on track na, I think we are going to bring it out again and look at it, involve the other side, and then ito kasi dadaan kasi sa kay presidente ito for his signature. It's called a technical arrangement.
So go pa rin yung side agreement proposal. Okay, I get it. So we
Go
want to
pa rin
make
yung arrangement. Yeah.
natin i-clarify some of the vague elements to make the VFA more solid, no, in terms of serving national interest.
I will withhold discussing any some of the details.
Of course, yes, Secretary. This is just
President.
We don't want to preempt also the negotiation process. Secretary, I've seen a lot of good friends. I mean, of course, a lot of us got invitations to watch the Fullerton address of Secretary Austin. I mean, one of the things that struck a lot of observers in the region is parang may sincere humility. We see more that with Secretary Austin's nag-admit sila na the United States democracy is far from perfect. He kind of raised the issue of racism against Asian Americans. So parang ang basa na marami is that we have a much more humble, self-critical kind of leadership now in the Pentagon, in the US right now. And that may have helped in terms of improving diplomatic relations with the region. Nakita ko rin yung tweets ni Secretary Austin about his visit with the president. It looked like very, I would say, cordial and very mutually respectful also interaction. Not that that wasn't the case with other visiting secretaries, but was there something more special about Secretary Austin na mas madali siyang kausap? You believe that it's a much more consultative alliance. It's not the big superpowers telling us what to do. Kasi alam ko, malaking issue kay Pangulong Duterte yan, yung respect, no? Yung respect na we are allies here. We're not kind of a, you cannot tell us what to do. Parang, did we see with, at napansin ko, si Secretary Austin may isang shield, no? Itong plastic shield na meron tayo sa Pilipinas, which he didn't use. Oh, hindi niya ginamit sa ibang bansa. Sa atin lang siya naglagay. So parang solidarity ba ito with us?
Yes. I was there during the meeting between Secretary Austin and the President. And maganda yung aura niya. The ambience that was created between the two was very good. First off, before sila nag-usap, pinuntuhan ako ng Presidente, sabi niya, ano bang gagawin ko rito? I'm going to tell them about the Scarborough Shoal. Sabi ko, sige Mayor, kasi kung naman talaga, okay sa isipan natin at iba ko per mine. So yun ang unang binanggit niya. No? And Secretary Austin was very diplomatic enough to say that that happened not during his time, and he couldn't speak about it. Pati na yung mga iba pang mga bagay na nangyari dati, Scarborough Shoal, pati yung ano po ba yung mga mischief reef kung bakit walang ginawa yung US. So paano man yan, I've heard some of the Americans saying that maybe they did not do the right thing also nung nag-ano yung Chinese mischief reef on other
1994, 1995. Yes.
Not too long ago. It is just a couple of years, several years after the abrogation of the military bases agreement. So, but I noticed that Secretary Austin was very humble siyang kausap, very soft-spoken, and he speaks very softly and very forcefully and clear. And I believe the president was impressed also about him, And I haven't seen the Fullerton address, but if we're talking that with some humility about mga mali nila dito, I think that's a good sign, And I also asked him because, as I said, the ASEAN countries consider your presence here has a very stabilizing factor. It's a very stabilizing. But sabi ko, we are also wondering what really is your purpose, what is your long-term plan here in the region, in the Pacific region. And sabi niya, they are here to stay. Sabi ko, we believe that you have been sending mixed signals for many years that you are here, you are not here. You are more concerned about what's happening in the Middle East and Europe, and so medyo nakalimutan or forgot about Southeast Asia. And he said, yeah, we are here to continue what we are doing here. In fact, we will intensify more what we are doing in the South China Sea. So yeah, it's a very good thing to hear also that medyo binibigyan tayo ng pansin, na importance sa kapansin. Regarding on the modernization, he asked me what they can do, and I said, yeah, I think we're trying to acquire some equipment. Ang sabi niya, they are willing to sell us the F-16s. Sabi ko naman, Mr. Secretary, if our money, the available money that we have now, can only buy 2 F-16s. Whereas if we go and buy the Gripen from Sweden, we will be able to get 6. So, no, di ba, Richard, no-brainer eh. Doon muna mas total medyo equal din naman ang capabilities niya. Although, as far as they are concerned, the Americans are concerned, the interoperability of this, their equipment plus us, since we are close allies, medyo maapektado kung ibang platform na gagamitin natin.
Right. So preferably we get more American platforms if we're gonna move towards modernization.
Yeah, they still have the best kasi Richard, the American equipment are still the best in the world, helicopters, jets, and everything, but sometimes they are within out of our reach. They are beyond the reach of our resources. So kung tayo nag-outsourcing sa iba. Katulad ng attack helicopter. They were offering the Apache. Ganon din, napakamahal. For the money that we have, we can only buy, I think, 1 Apache. Whereas in Turkey, we can buy 6 of attack helicopters, which is a little bit medyo inferior ng konti sa Apache, but it will do. It will help us also in our counterinsurgency operations.
So maybe, Secretary, we can work with other NATO countries who have more affordable options, right? Not necessarily the United States, and in that sense, it's more compatible with us. Have you tried both the fighter jets? I've seen pictures of you in a fighter jet. Parang I'm not sure if it was a Saab Gripen one or was it the F-15 at nakita ko parang frustrated pilot, Secretary Lorenzana. What's the story there? Have you tried both planes? And like
only F-A-50. I was offered by the Air Force to ride. And sige, subukan ko.
Yung sa atin na,
Sa atin na yan. That was a month.
The Koreans, the Koreans gave it.
Korean made, The Korean made the F-50 is actually parang back-up ng F-16s eh. Because
parang trainer upgraded, no? Upgraded
trainer for F-16, future F-16 pilots. This is a trainer to transport, to migrate to the F-16 dito ka. So, nakalagay doon, frustrated pilot. Totoo yan, Richard, because when I was a cadet, I really dreamed to become a pilot. And in fact, I chose the Air Force as my branch of service when we were graduating. So, nagkaroon na kami ng training dyan, basic officers course, basic Air Force officer course. We toured the camps, the Air Force camps, mga kampo nila, radar stations. In fact, when we were cadets, I was one of the lucky guys who rode the T-33. It is the jet trainer, T-33. Kanya jet trainer yan ng Air Force. Dinala ko nung ang piloto ko pa si General Hotchkiss, Major Hotchkiss pa noon. So we went over Manila Bay kasi sa basa sila nakabase. Went over Manila Bay, nag-aerobatic. Nagsuka-suka ako doon sa aeroplano na yun. So I love it. Sabi ko, I think this is a life for me to be a pilot like this. Then, nagkaroon ako ng aksidente. During our last field training exercise in Tanay, I accidentally hit my eye with some sand nung makalabit ko yung aking garan na nakatutok sa lupa, umakyat yung buhangin, so tinamaan yung mata ko sa kaliwa ng mata. And then after that, when I got a little bit better after 3 days, hindi na makakita ito. So immediately I changed my branch of service from Air Force to Army. And I have no regrets. I think that accident was a blessing in disguise actually.
Naging Secretary of Defense ka namin eventually, right? So definitely, many would count that as eventually a blessing for us.
Yeah, because
sana kasama niyo si Heidelin Diaz, both Air Force and PAF officers. No?
Kasi I'm looking back at the history in yung aking napagdaanan sa military. Kasi kung hindi ako Army, hindi ako magbabatalyon commander sa Davao City, at the time when Duterte, when he first won as a mayor, I was there already. So I was the first commander that he worked with in Davao City in 1988. So swerte talaga. I think it's a providential naman na accident.
Vice Mayor si President Duterte noon?
He was when I was assigned to Davao City in 1987. He was the OIC Vice Mayor.
Vice Mayor,
After it was the post-revolution era when everybody was removed President
Like,
Cory Aquino.
slate. Nag-clean
Kanya
slate.
lahat ng OIC lahat, OIC Mayor, OIC Vice Mayor, everything. Then, an election was held in early 1988.
Yes,
So,
po.
nilakaran niya yung incumbent, si Mayor Respicio. So, he won. So, nung manalo siya, I think we got close together working at the barangays. Pasyal-pasyal kami. We did a lot of things to improve this security situation of Davao City. That's where I got to know him.
The president.
All ng mga 1.5 years na nandun ako.
Yeah, I mean, many wonder kasi Secretary Lorenzana, like you have been, you have been kind of one of the figures of continuity in the Duterte administration, even though some would say that maybe your statements are not necessarily always, reflective of what the president says, at least in terms of tone and direction. And yet, you've been here, you've been a very influential figure in the administration. So you think ito'y dahil sa mutual respect na na-develop niyo over the years? And alam ko may gag order sa inyo earlier this year na huwag kayo magsalita about so okay na, tanggal na yung gag order. Ano nangyari?
Ang gag order na yon is ang magsasalita lang sa about West Philippine Sea.
DFA.
I think Secretary of Foreign Affairs.
DFA, yeah.
Of course, yung spokesman natin si Harry Roque. Dahil ang daming point of view na lumalabas. Point of view ko, point of view ni Spiron, pati yung Westcom commander, meron din siya. So, there is a cacophony of noises going on.
Right.
Nakaka-confuse eh. Mabuti naman at sila lang magsalita. But once in a while, I cannot prevent myself from speaking what's happening.
Yeah, may pagka-Duterte din kayo. You have to express yourself.
Kasi area yan eh. Depends yan to secure our maritime areas. So, but yeah, sometimes I contradict the president katulad nung I think 2016 to 2017 I contradicted him several times. But when I go to the media, I talk to him first. Akala ng mga tao, ng mga kakilala ko, what are you doing? Bakit mo kino-contradict sa presidente sa mga sinasabi niya?
Coordinate. But
I talk to him first and then ask him explain ko sa kanya tulad nung balikatan, wala na exercises. Right. Mr. President, I've been doing that for a long time and our troops need that. So, okay, tuloy natin pero bawas-bawasan nyo lang. So, with your permission, Mr. President, can I go to the media and talk about this? Yes. So, akala nila, I just go to the media and blurt out anything that in contradiction with the President. I asked clearance from him before I speak over the media. Every time na magagawin akong ganun, I ask his permission. So, it's not only contradicting him, but supporting what he's saying.
But with a healthy level of diversity of expressions of our national interest and where we want to go, right? Secretary. No, because this has been a big point of I would say confusion abroad for a long time. Ako naman, I mean, you know what my line of analysis. I mean, there's always a very healthy debate sa atin sa Pilipinas. It's not easy to deal with China. It's not easy to deal with US. So I think we're trying to figure it out. But overall, Secretary, would you say that the president's policy with the US over the past few years was really about making sure we get the best and most out of our alliance with them? Was this all hard negotiation tactic? Yun ba kasi eventually, wala naman na surprise sa amin the VFA came back. So the point was, what was this all about? Was this about making sure na hindi tayo taken for granted by the Americans? Is this what we're trying to do here?
I think the main reason, as far as I'm concerned, Richard, was yung pangingialam nila sa ating internal affairs.
Okay.
Especially yung kanilang, when they accuse the president of extrajudicial killing, talagang sa kanya it strikes a raw nerve in his in himself, in his mind. That's why he hates some of those people who are saying that, especially the senators and congressmen in the US. Sabi nga niya, I do not hate the US. I just hate some of the people there. Right. Unfortunately, yung mga people na yan, these are the officials up there, the senators, kasi they can block any procurement of equipment. Pwede nilang i-block it because the US law says that any export of equipment from the US to any other country, kailangan pa ng approval ng Congress. Question point. yung 26,000 ano yan, rifle na binili na, binayaran na yan ng PNP.
For
But
PNP. Yes,
oh,
yes, for
PNP. At
PNP.
least yung 2016 pa yan, pagpasok ni Presidente. Binili yan during the time of President Aquino. Tapos i-deliver na sana, but it couldn't be delivered. Ay sinold ng ng Senate because they have veto power over the export of this equipment to other countries. So galit na galit si Presidente. Binayaran na natin, hindi pa niya libigay. Tapos nakikialam sila.
So in short, Secretary, the issue here is not with the executive branch, hindi ito with the White House, with the State Department. Ang issue dito is certain elements in the U.S. Congress, among others, who are taking this kind of what you believe is an intervention in our domestic affairs. So yun yung concern ni Paolo Duterte.
Yeah. Not necessarily the executive, but more on the legislative ones. Those who have power of over the relationship between the two countries. Of course, the State Department ay marami din diyang mga tao dyan na very anti China. When they get friends with the China, sasabihin nila and they are getting friendly with their enemy. So kasama yan. Right. Especially yung mga career State Department people that have been there for a long time. Meron silang set of beliefs that they want to...
Parang new Cold War. Yes.
Saka si Presidente kasi, ang kinukwento niya, he has several bad experience with Americans, and sabi niya...
Is this the marrying incident? Is this the...
kasama yun. Kasama yung si marrying incident. Kasama niya yung marrying incident. Talagang galit na galit siya doon eh. Yes. Kasi sabi niya para magnanakaw yun na yung things hindi man lang sinabi sa akin. Kasi he was having this guy investigated dahil naputokan ito ng bomba sa hotel niya eh. So ang tanong niya, what is this guy doing, American, the white guy doing in Davao City, tinkering with bombs? Makakasama siya sa mga tawag ito, terrorist group. Although the guy was saying that he was a treasure hunter going there, but the fact that he lost one of his legs through a bomb tinkering at his hotel room, ay mukhang hindi ka paniwala as far as the president is concerned. So kinuha siya ng mga, I think FBI talking or CIA spirited him away from Davao and then Manila, then away home. Galit na galit talaga siya. He was very angry about that incident. And then, meron pa siyang kinukwento sa amin. Sabi niya nung siya ay congressman.
Duman sa LAX yata yan?
The LAX experience. He went to, I think, Argentina or Brazil. Going there, he passed by LAX, punta doon. Then going back, the same road. Pagdating sa LAX, pauwi siya rito. Hinold siya ng, I think, several hours dahil under suspicion siya. And he was arguing with the airport official that, I'm not entering your country. I'm just passing through. I'm just passing through going back to my country. Na official. So galit na galit siya kung bakit siya bakit siya na point or
so that's why he says arrogante ang mga, I think that's the term he uses sometimes.
Arrogante. Tapos nung election time, yung campaign period, when the US US ambassador here, si Goldberg, started talking against him, galit na galit din siya doon. Sabi niya, because you cannot do that. If you're a guest in the country, you cannot do that because you might unnecessarily influence the election against another candidate. So galit na galit siya doon kay Goldberg. So naawa din ako kay Goldberg after that nung nag-assume na si Presidente ay matagal niyang pinagbigyan bago makapag-call sa kanya si Goldberg.
Do you see well, I mean, hindi naman let bygones be bygones, but I mean, obviously may mga problema tayo in our alliance for some time, no? Kulang yung tulong sa atin during the mischief free crisis. Siguro during Scarborough Shoal also, hindi natin nakuha yung tulong na gusto natin. But have you, I mean, kasi tatlong administration nang naabutan nyo, di ba? Tail end of Obama, then the Trump administration, and then now Biden. Do you see some changes in the US in terms of their regional policy, in terms of yung treatment nila sa atin, in terms of their reliability? Nag-improve ba? I mean, because on one hand, at least we see the Americans are now openly saying that the Mutual Defense Treaty could be applicable, no, in an event na matake tayo ng isang third country or anything like that, which I believe was not the case under Obama. I mean, this was kind of a policy, but it was never explicated in the way it has been under the Trump and now more the Biden administration. Are they moving in a better direction? Kasi alam ko, 95, sabi ni Obama, like 90% of officials of Biden were under me. But parati when Biden officials come, they want to make sure hindi sila Obama administration, that they're different, right? They have a stronger stance on China and with the allies and everything like that. Yun lang sabi, kaya I'm not surprised.
I think there's a sea change, there's a sea change from Obama up to now, In fact, the president was actually medyo friendly siya kay President Trump because of their of his strong stand against the Chinese here in the West Philippine Sea, which is also pabor sa atin, Yeah. But yung si Obama meron siyang pivot to Asia, wala namang nangyari. So tapos nawala pa sa atin yung Scarborough Shoal dahil sa time niya. So marami siyang maraming angst si presidente about the Americans because para bang selective yung kanilang pag-interpret ng MDT. It's maganda pakinggan nung sinasabi nila Pompeo or Blinken, whatever, that we back you up, nasa likod nyo kami, and we are going to protect you. Kung atakihin kayo, we will support you. We will go to war for you or with you, Pero ang sabi ko naman noon pa, nung before nung time pa ni Trump, sabi ko. But then, look, sabi ko, the attack that you are thinking is armed attack. Yung mayroong talagang open conflict. But to me, sabi ko, the Chinese are also gaming the system. Alam nila kasi yung MDT. They have read it, and so alam nila kung ano yung magiging role ng US kung magkaroon ng conflict. So they are avoiding that. So what do they do? What did they do? Creeping yan they are going sa atin, as far as I'm concerned, sabi ko sa mga Amerikano, their encroachment into our territories, especially in the Kalayaan Island Group and also in Scarborough, is an attack as far as we are concerned. But to you, hindi yun attack dahil naghihintay kayo ng open conflict ng barilan exchange of fires between part to parties bago kayo makialam. Plus, sabi ko, your Congress will come in. You have to go to Congress to ask for permission to go to war. And by the time the Congress will act, baka tapos na yung gera, talo na kami o whatever. So, yun ang gusto kong i-clarify doon sa MDT. Dahil very vague, siguro, sabi ng iba, mas maganda yung medyo malabo ng kunti para pwede tayong elbow room to interpret. Pero
that's what you want to remove, Secretary? Is that ambiguity an issue?
Ambiguous. Some people say maganda yon para meron tayong elbow room. I don't know. We will discuss it with the Americans kasi amenable naman silang pag-usapan. Meron naman silang committee to discuss it. So, ganun So, with this, what's happening now with the aggressive diplomacy that the Americans are doing here, umikot na si Blinken dito, but not in the Philippines. Umikot na rin si Austin, targeting some of their allies here. He went to Singapore, and then he went to Vietnam, then here. So, ang tingin ko sa kanya ay they are giving importance also to the role here. Dahil ang sabi ko nga, if something happened, if there is a miscalculation with what you are doing here, and there is miscalculation between you and the Chinese, sabi ko sa kanya, automatically we are involved.
Madamay tayo.
And sabi ko, we are smack right in the center of the conflict dito sa South China Sea. Sabi ko, and we Filipinos don't want our country to become the battlefield again like what happened in World War II. Di ba? Masyadong traumatic experience sa atin yung World War II. When they fought their wars here, hindi naman tayo involved sa war na yan. It's between the Japanese and the Americans. But what can we do? Dito nangyari sa bansa natin, and it killed more than 1 million people during that war, and most of them non-combatants pa. So sa atin dapat we should do our best, all we can, to prevent any conflict here in South China Sea. Tumulong tayo na walang mangyayaring shooting down, because it is in the interest of everybody, the Chinese, the Americans, Filipinos, all those countries around the region, to keep the peace and stability in South China Sea, dahil ito yung major major lines of communication of trades.
Yes. Secretary, do you think that the MDT, for instance, could be made more relevant in light of yung tinatawag na gray zone threats? Kasi yun nga, sabi niyo nga, pinag-aaralan din ng mga karibal natin at mga ibang bansa yung mga limitations of our line. So it seems more and more countries are relying on asymmetric or gray zone kind of operations, like yung mga militia na nakikita natin dyan sa West Philippine Sea, among others. Do you think that the Mutual Defense Treaty has to be tweaked to better address that issue?
We'll talk to the other guys. Kasi alam ko nga, I really believe that ang nangyayari sa South China Sea is kasama sa gray zone tactics ng Chinese. Alam nila yung these people are very adept at adapting to the situation in the area. Alam nila na binabantayan sila. So ang ginagawa nila pa kunti-kunti lang, solo ng kunti. Kung aangal tayo, titigil sila. Tapos kung hindi naman, tutuloy-tuloy. Well, like what happened in Mischief Reef. Nung una nila nang kunin yun, we questioned them why they are there. Anong sabi nila? They're just trying to build shelters for fishermen. O tapos mamaya, mayroon ng malalaking may mga malalaking structures niya instilled. Ngayon meron na silang airport doon. So how did that happen? Na shelter lang ng So alam nila eh. I think as I said a while ago, they game the system. They played with the MDT. Alam nila kung ano yung mangyayari kasi. And they are very careful not to provoke any open confrontation, because iba yun, ibang istorya na yun. Right. Pero yung ginagawa nila na build ng mga over reefs and shoals, dahil yung Chinese kasi nung dumating sila dyan sa South China Sea, pumunta sila dyan, wala na silang naabotang island. All the islands have been taken by the Vietnamese, the Filipinos, and the Malaysians. So, wala na silang naabotang island, just reefs, shoals. So doon na lang sila nag-concentrate. Instead of getting islands, they produce islands out of those reefs. So yun ang kanilang ginagawa ngayon, and I think the Americans also noticed that. And I think one of the purpose of the Americans in patrolling the South China Sea is to prevent further build up of structures in new features.
Secretary, what do you have to say about yung mga nagsabi naman na yes, we have to make sure US is more reliable, pero paano naman ang Pilipinas, kasi parang paiba-iba yung sinasabi ng ating administration or presidente natin, that are we also a reliable ally? Or maybe we're just also confusing our allies, that maybe siguro dapat mas consistent tayo sa mga terms natin. What do you say about those persons na sinasabi na tayo ang medyo magulo? Dapat siguro medyo consistent tayo.
First, I think the Philippines, as far as the Americans, is a reliable ally because we allow them to come here, exercise with us. We are open to the coming in and out. Mga ships that can come here. So as far as we are concerned, we are reliable on that matter, ano? Pero in terms of capabilities natin, na para we can operate side by side, almost equal, wala tayo. We are backward as far as yung new technologies on military is concerned. So how can we be reliable kung hindi natin we cannot be a good partner for in times of crisis, ano? So both sides, we are reliable because they can always be here and use our land, they can exercise with us, be here in the Philippines year round because of the Balikatan and VFA. But in terms of going to conflict or war on an equal footing, hindi tayo reliable. Kasi wala naman tayo. We don't even have a warship. Wala tayong missile ship. Wala tayong fighter jets. Nothing. We have no cruise missiles and everything. So parang ano lang tayo dito eh. Parang ginagawa tayong garrison lang ng na pwedeng puntahan, alisan, and that is our reliability. Nandito tayo. So the BFA is actually a reliable instrument by the United States to be here. So, yun ang aking take.
Yeah, speaking of Garrison, but I mean not necessarily. I mean, anong ginagawa natin diyan sa Pag-asa, diyan sa Kalayaan Group of Islands sa ilalim ng leadership niyo? We started trying to maintain and upgrade our facilities. Ano pa yung status ng ating mga activities diyan?
In the Kalayaan Group, we have 9 features, 8 islands and 1 ship, yung Sierra Madre, na nakasadtad doon sa Ayungin, But we are trying to improve our facility in Pag-asa, our biggest island there. Now we are trying to cement or pave the runway dahil lang yun dirt runway lang yun, and it can be used only when there is maybe 5 days of sunshine para tuyo, hindi mabalaho yung gulong ng eroplano. So hopefully we can finish the paving of that runway before the end of the term of the president para naman mapuntahan natin yon. And also we are improving the facilities for our people there. Meron naman doon kasi about 200 civilian families there sa Pag-asa, all fishermen. Plus we have a contingent of Marines and Navy people maintaining the island. So hopefully we can put up sufficient facilities for them, like water desalination and of course mga waste treatment dahil so that we can protect the environment there. So tuloy-tuloy yan. Hopefully we can also improve the other islands dahil yung mga islands na maliliit lang, mga detachment of Marines taking care of those islands. So yan ang programa natin.
Yes, Secretary, because we're trying to wrap it up in the last 5 to 10 minutes, medyo tumagal tayo. Maraming salamat for sticking with us. Because ang lalim ng issue natin, I thought it's really good to go deep into this. Diyan sa pagdating sa West Philippine Sea, I mean, since 2016 when you have taken over as the Defense Minister of the Philippines, masasabi niyo ba ang sitwasyon ay lumala? What is the Philippines' position on the ground? Naging mas aggressive ba or assertive ba ang China on the ground? And hopefully, what are you hoping to be done under the succeeding administrations? Dahil hindi intergenerational challenge mukhang ito, no? What is your assessment of the progression or rather regression of the crisis on the ground sa West Philippine Sea? And are you worried na this could move towards a very dangerous kind of phase in the near future?
There's a great big change, Richard, since the start of the Duterte administration, dahil nung dumating nga siya medyo wala tayong magawa diyan sa West Philippine Sea dahil hinaharas yung mga fishermen natin, the Chinese Coast Guard and the other the Navy or the militias were preventing our fishermen from fishing in the Scarborough Shoal and in other areas. So nung dumating siya at nakipagkaibigan siya kay President Xi Jinping, the atmosphere changed. So our fishermen can already fish in the Scarborough Shoal vicinity and all others without any interference. Meron ding mga mangilan-ngilang mga insidente tulad nung binangga nila yung Jember diyan sa may West Philippine Sea. Pero I think that's been resolved. The Chinese have already promised to compensate the owner at saka yung fishermen ng mga crew ng Jember. But as far as I'm concerned, the situation there has improved a lot since that time at the start of the Duterte administration, and I think it is continuing up to today. Now, the Chinese are still fielding a lot of ships there. According to the ambassador, ay ito yung mga mangingisda lang nila, although we suspect the AFP these are maritime militia supporting the PLA Navy. Ang dami-dami. Sabi nga ng ambassador, we have about more than 1,000 fishing vessels there. Napakadami masyado. Napakadami siguro we should also complain against the Chinese because they are now overfishing kung ganun kadami, overfishing the area, and it will not be to our advantage kung maubos ang isda diyan. So moving forward, I think it is to me personally, it will be good for the next administration to continue pursuing this balancing act. Kasi sabi ng Presidente, I have a very difficult job here balancing. It's a balancing act between dealing with the Chinese and dealing with the Americans who are now competitors in the area. Especially may trade war sila, may ano pa, nagigirian sila dyan. So sabi nga niya, it's very difficult for me. But sabi nga naman namin, I think he did a good job in trying to balance our interests, to balance dealing with the two superpowers, pursuing the interests of the Philippines, like the resumption of trade, exportation of fruits and agricultural products to China since he came in, na tinigil noong time ng previous administration. With regards to the Americans naman, I think he made it clear to the Americans during the visit of Secretary Austin that we will remain to be an ally here of the Americans in the Southeast Asia. So yun, I think mahihirapan siguro yung succeeding administration now also to balance the relationship dahil we cannot get away from dealing with these two superpowers dahil pareho silang may interest dito sa Southeast Asia, especially in the Philippines and in the South China Sea, and they will continue to exert their influence here, both of them, and especially to the Philippines dahil tayo ngayon dito tayo yung apektado mismo dito. We're right there at the center of the trouble kung magkakagulo. So the challenge is great for the next administration.
Secretary, just on a closing note, if you were to give like just general advice, siguro nagsulat ka ng memoir mo, hopefully we look forward to that. What would be your advice? How to deal with China, with the rising China, especially dito sa context ng West Philippines Sea? How do we protect our interests while engaging China? And how do we deal with the superpower, a new superpower that is China?
My take there, Richard, is we have also to have respect between the two countries. They have to respect our claim because sabi ko nga doon sa ambassador, yung former ambassador ng China, we have two documents to prove that we have sovereignty or sovereign rights over this area. Samantalang kayo, meron lang kayong historical rights that has been invalidated by a court, international court. But having said that, I think we should also have a mutual respect of what's happening there in the South China Sea. Kung meron silang sinasabing rights nila, I think we should also respect that and keep talking dahil nandyan na sila, sabi nga ng Presidente, nandyan na sila, hindi naman natin sila matatanggal dyan. At least we go to war, we cannot afford to war. So I think the remaining strategy is to, while asserting our sovereign rights and sovereignty over some of the islands there at saka yung West Philippine Sea or EEZ natin, it's very healthy also to keep talking amicably with the Chinese so that everybody can do their thing there, fish, exploration of extraction of hydrocarbons from the seabed. Meron nang ginagawa yung ating DOE with one oil company in China to have a joint venture pero hindi pa natutuloy hanggang ngayon, but they keep talking. So yun ang nakikita ko and there are some suggestion that the area will be declared as a common area, common sea, so that and administered jointly by claimant countries para ma-maintain lang natin yung peace. I think it is not healthy if we keep quarreling over this area. Napakalaki ng area. I think there are enough fish for everyone there. There are enough resources also for everyone, and dapat makinabang lahat. Sa akin, ganun mangyari. Sabi nga ni Xi Jinping kay Presidente, Mr. President, sabi niya, I don't think we can resolve this matter within our lifetime.
Yes, lifetime. Yeah.
Sabi niya, maybe our children or even grandchildren will have a better idea to resolve it. Kita mo?
Hopefully, Secretary, may mga staff pa by that time, The
Chinese are not really, Richard, the way I look at the China, I've been all the meetings between the president and Xi Jinping, I was there. Nakikinig ako.
Yes, President.
Nakikita ko yung kanilang they are very patient They are willing to wait 100 years basta
Play
sa
the long
kanila,
game.
with the long to them it is not important to resolve this thing immediately dahil let it go kasi magbabago naman situation Now that is the problem with us Filipinos because there are some people here yung palagi nila nagsasabi assert why are not asserting why are you being friendly with China? You are pro-Chinese. I was accused of being pro-Chinese, because of the Genver incident. Dahil nung una, sabi ko hindi maganda. But when I saw the evidence, mukhang aksidente lang When I said, I think it was an accident, I was crucified in the media that, ito si Lorenzana, pro-Chinese na ito. Ganito. But let us look at the facts before talking. And ang nakakainis lang dito sa mga detractors natin na pinapabayaan daw natin yung interest natin. We have allowed the Chinese to encroach on our sovereignty. But I keep telling the media, since the president came in 2016, the Chinese has not moved an inch in new features. Wala silang na-occupy na new features.
Nasakop na bagong teritoryo ng
territory. They
haven't lost an inch in that sense.
They haven't lost an inch. They have improved their facilities like in Subi Reef, Mitch's Reef, and Fiery Cross, but they have not occupied any new features. So yun, wala talagang nangyari. But just to counter the accusation that binibigyan na natin yung teritoryo natin sa China. And unfortunately, yun na naging it gained traction among our people. Na gano'n nangyari, lumalabas sa social media, ito si Lorenzana o whatever, Duterte, yan they're friendly pro-Chinese. Problema rin kasi kung may presidente, sabi niya, gawin mo na kami probinsya ng China. Di ba, the first time we went to China, so I don't think
the president doesn't make it easy with his jokes. Let's just put it that way, Secretary Lorenzana.
But it was taken seriously by people. So,
I think kailangan niya yata magtubig, Secretary. I think you've been talking straight. Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate your points of view. So in short, parang standard ground bilang mga Pilipino at internet natin. But we also extend a hand in terms of engaging and all. So strength and engagement both at the same time, no?
Yeah, we should take advantage of our position here because we are very important to superpowers as far as they are concerned. Importante tayo dito. And I think we should leverage that stature for our interest. Talagang interest ng Pilipino ang inisip natin dito. Sometimes you are being accused of pro-China or pro-US, but if you look at the reason why we are doing that, makikita nila na ang interest pa rin ng Pilipino ang ating pinaglalaban.
Balance. Maraming salamat, Secretary Lorenzana. That was alam ko we can go on forever kasi itong mga GMA people yan.
Marami pa tayo hindi na pag-usapan. Terrorism, insurgency.
I know. Ang dami pa. So hopefully, Secretary, once your schedule opens up a little bit, hopefully we can have a different discussion naman dun sa mga internal security, national defense issues naman na relevant. Mindanao, NPA, red tagging, among others.
Mindanao,
we will reach out to you on that.
My favorite subject also because
exactly.
I was there, I grew up there, and the Muslim areas, the Muslim leaders are my friends. So my heart is with them, especially in this autonomy. I want it to succeed talaga, Richard. It's for the good of the country kung mag-succeed sila. So
thank you very much, Secretary.
Thank you very much, Richard. It was very enjoyable talking to you. Hopefully we can talk again. Face to face siguro next time. Wag na itong
Inshallah. Yes, inshallah. We can do it in person.